Canada's Supreme Court sided with the Ontario government today in a dispute with Toronto over cuts made to the city's council members in 2018. Premier Doug Ford's government reduced the number of city councillors by nearly half in the middle of a municipal election campaign. CBC's Linda Ward is on the story live from Toronto. So what did the Supreme Court say in its decision, Linda?
Well, this was a close decision, Suhana. 5-4, the Supreme Court ruling that Premier Doug Ford's decision to cut the number of council seats in the city of Toronto from 47 to 25 was constitutional, that the law did not violate the right to freedom of expression of either voters or candidates. So this sort of puts an end to a bit of a judicial back and forth. It started back in 2018 when the provincial government made that cut. Ford used to sit on Toronto City Council. He ran unsuccessfully for mayor. He said that council was dysfunctional, that there were just too many councillors, that this move would save $25 million over 4 years. But critics called it undemocratic. They say that, redrawing the boundaries right in the middle of an election essentially meant that candidates had been out campaigning in wards that had now been redrawn, and some of their efforts would have gone to waste. Toronto then challenged it in court and won, the province appealing that at the Ontario Court of Appeal. And the Supreme Court, then the city went to the Supreme Court with this to try and get that appeal overturned. Now, the Supreme Court today said that the law did not stop candidates from expressing themselves. The majority of the justices found, and I quote, the candidates and their supporters had 69 days, longer than most federal and provincial election campaigns, to reorient their messages and freely express themselves according to the new ward structure. And while it recognized that some of the candidates' messages, some of their outreach to their constituents may have lost relevance, it says, well, the charter doesn't guarantee the relevance of any of those messages. The city also arguing that the law breached the unwritten constitutional principle of democracy. Supreme Court says, well, while those unwritten constitutional principles can be used to kind of guide and understand, interpret the Constitution, they can't be really used to overturn any laws. It's important to note just how close this was. There were 4 dissenting justices here who believed that this was unconstitutional, mainly because of the timing of this, saying by radically redrawing electoral boundaries during an active election that was almost 2/3 complete, the legislation interfered with the rights of all participants to engage in meaningful, reciprocal political discourse. Suhana.
And what reaction are you seeing, Linda?
Yeah, lots of reaction out there. So far, we've heard from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Steve Clark. He says, we are pleased with the Supreme Court of Canada's ruling today. From day one, we have been committed to restoring accountability and trust in government, and we promise to end the culture of waste and mismanagement. Today's ruling confirms what we already know. Decisions are being made faster and more efficiently thanks to a much more streamlined process at the City of Toronto. Of course, that's not what the Supreme Court was ruling on. Was not ruling on the efficiency of the City Council. Mayor John Tory issued a statement today as well, thanking the Supreme Court. He says, I disagreed with the way the province went about changing the size of City Council in the middle of the 2018 election. And as mayor, together with City Council, we have made that very clear all the way to our highest court. The City of Toronto and the Government of Ontario will continue to work together on responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and many other issues for the good of our city and our province. Now, Toronto City Councillor Joe Cressy was one of those that's sort of at the forefront of this when this was all playing out. And he is now, he says, disappointed with this ruling, but is now looking for constitutional change. Take a listen to what he told us.
When our Constitution was set up, we had provinces and the nation, and cities were not recognized. Well, cities are now at the heart of our country from an economic perspective, from a newcomer settlement perspective, and increasingly from an infrastructure perspective. And this decision today, a deeply split decision, I would note, I think really reflects the need for a new deal for cities, to recognize cities' autonomy, but also to recognize the importance of local democracy.
And without that, Suhanna, without those changes to the Constitution, of course, City Council will move ahead with the number of councillors set at 25. The next municipal election about a year away. Suhanna.
That's CBC's Linda Ward in Toronto.